Hey everyone, Metagross here for episode 5 of Toa Superior. Today we're looking at Tahu, combining 2015 and 2016's Tahus into a superior combination of the two. Now obviously, like always, my 2015 model is a little customized, and that's because I just combined them with the protectors to make them a little more custom, but I'm planning to combine both sets into one. If you've been following this series at all, this should come as no surprise. I'm using the 2016 Brainstock and the 2015 head. If that came as a surprise to you, you haven't seen any of the other videos in the series. As the legs go, I like the gold feet on 2016's because I'm planning on going with gold. I don't plan on using much silver. I also like the extra long the thigh piece used in the 2016 legs, but I'm going with the extra long shin lower limb piece from 2015 because I plan on using these torso armor pieces that are on the shin as shin armor. I really like what 2015 Tahu did, and so I want to continue that concept. For the legs, I'm basically just combining the shin of 2015 with the upper limb and the foot of 2016. I'm just adding on this long piece of armor. As you can see, it is basically the same size as a crystal armor piece in red. This is a really large piece of armor, completely covers this large shin. I only have a couple of these, and I'm putting the crystal armor on top as well as these red torso plates that came with 2015 Tahu as a lower limb. I think these legs look pretty good. I unfortunately couldn't incorporate any of the trans red limb, but I'll try to do that in the arms. Crystal armor design doesn't suit your fancy. You can switch out for one of these gold armor editions. I think I like this version a little bit more because I want to put the crystal armor on one of the arms. I like the 2016 arms pretty well. I like the bones and everything, but the gold armor and the add-on I'm not so sure about, so I'm simply taking off the add-on and putting on one of these larger red pieces of armor that came with 2015 Tahu. I might add on things to this later on, but I like this design better, even though I really like this one. I'm just basically switching around the armor pieces and adding on the crystal armor to the elbow. I think that kind of looks a lot more fiery than having it on the upper leg, plus this sets him apart a little bit from the likes of Kopaka and Liwa. Comparing the weapons, personally, even though I use these blades on Kopaka as a shield, these are just so much better weapons. These 2016 blades are alright, but they have this big clunky assemblage for the function, and all it really does is it just kind of extends the blade out. I might use these for some kind of function on the back, but I don't see these as weapons. I see these more as accessories. 2016 Tahu has a lot of things I like. It has the functionality of the twisting torso that I like. It has a cool chest plate, especially with this print, though I'm not sure how to incorporate it, considering I'm not really using any Azure right now. The only other Azure pieces that come in 2016 Tahu are the Borak eyes that were on the feet, so depending on how the entire figure looks together, I may use this chest plate or the red and gold from 2015 Tahu. I also really love these pauldrons. I think they just look badass. As for the 2015 Tahu, well, I kind of customized it a little bit, but the gearbox that came with the original Tahu is almost completely unaltered and has these cool little fin things. The swords kind of fold up in the back, kind of acting a little bit like a cape almost. They can flip around and you can pose them, though I usually see them in promotional art as kind of sticking up, almost as if he has just these swords popping off of his back. Though they did kind of give us a hint towards 2016 Tahu because they can be kind of used as mini wings. I'm planning on switching out the gold blades with the elemental blades from 2016. Assembling the torso isn't too difficult. You take your waist articulation piece as normal, you take your gearbox as normal. I put a 3-length blue peg going through and a 2-length black peg above it at the crossbeam, and like always you plug it in right above the crossbeam. However, to do the shoulder assembly is a little complicated. I'm just going to show you what it looks like on one side of the shoulder first, and then show you how to do it. So there it is. It's a nice little assembly, and as you can tell probably from the full beam sticking out instead of a half beam, we are going to use the 2016 torso piece, which is why I'm using the Azure Borak eyes instead of the trans red ones that come in 2016 as well, because I feel it has kind of that tribal-y look all on the torso, and I kind of like that bit of unity right there. You just need to get a Azure Borak eye from 2016, a 3-length axle. You need to get one of these connectors that has 2 pegs on one side, 1 axle on the end, a 1 axle, 1 peg piece, doesn't matter the color, but I choose black. You're also going to be using the pauldron piece used in 2016 Tahu, and a variation of the arm, let's see, the shoulder piece used. Basically, we're switching out the axle with a stopper for a shorter one, that way we don't have a second ball. 2016 Tahu uses one of these axles with the stoppers, but we're going to be using instead the shorter one that came in the original weapon. So instead of looking like this, we're going to instead add on a ball on the end and 2 bushings. If you want to use a 1 thickness bushing instead of 2 half thickness bushings, that's okay. I'm just using what's available in 2016 Tahu, but there we go. Now we simply plug that into our 2 long bit, and to connect it together, we take our 2 long peg as such, plug that into our 3 long connector, and slide the axle through at the bottom. We now attach this to the open axle joint on the bar over here, on the beam, sorry, and to help keep it in place, we add on the Borak eye. And there you have a complete shoulder piece. When you attach on the bit, it will be posable, so you can adjust it how you need to, and it's also on a ball. So these shoulders are going to be highly posable, and you'll be able to adjust them to your needs. And they're fairly custom, but I like the way they look. I might choose to add a little something in the front there in a minute, but if we attach on the chest plate, that looks really nice. I'm taking a note from my Kopaka video, and I basically made an assembly. Oops, let me rotate that a little bit. Made a little assembly to attach to the base of the torso. It does wiggle around a little bit, but you've got enough coverage on here. You should be fine. I know that the trans red and the azure kind of clash a little bit, but I want to have a little more trans red on there. Now I'm simply putting in another 3 long peg piece and putting on our piece for the back armor. I'm choosing to use one of these larger trans red plates. It's the same size as the trans red plate we used on the arms. If you don't have a trans red one, using a solid red one is fine, or using a slightly smaller trans red one is also fine. I believe this piece came from Lord of Skull Spiders, so if you don't have one of this size, it's okay, but it fits nice and snug right in there, and it kind of looks like he's got some flowing lava dripping down. I like that. However, in the little tube pieces up here where the gold swords originally went, I'm putting in the elemental swords. Oops. There, I'm putting in the elemental swords. Those fold down nicely over the gear, preventing it from moving, and just kind of adds a little more texture onto the back. And you can use them either as secondary weapons, you can fold them out to be kind of a cool lava-y cape, you can use them as pseudo wings, or as backup weapons if you don't want to use the giant swords. Unfortunately, the 2-length double peg was a little too short, so I'm using a 3-length double peg for the shoulders, putting a peg bushing on it, so I have a little bit of clearance now. Oops, let me see here. And let's see, we plug that in. I believe there and there. There you go, plug that in. I'm not really sure if I want to do the upper or lower piece of it yet. I'm kind of deciding as I go. Of the two holes here, definitely putting it on the lower hole looks a little bit better. So if you maybe only want to use one of these pieces instead of one of these pieces, that's okay. I'm just doing it, I'm keeping it like that though for a little more support on the upper part of the chest blade. But there we go, lots of shoulder support. Very posable. You could even potentially have these going forward as like a battering ram kind of thing, since there's so much clearance, though whipping them forward actually doesn't make it return, so that's a nice amount of friction there. We've got the cool posable swords, which can be used as a cape or wings or whatever, backup swords. The gear function is in the arms, and there's not a ton of friction, so you may have to add some friction in. That's okay. I'm using the twin swords that came with 2015 Tahu. I feel having a ton of friction in his arms isn't super important because I feel he's less likely to be posing and more likely to be hacking and slashing. If you want to pose him, well, just angle his arms in a very aggressive stance. Finishing up Tahu actually involves adding stuff to the back of his legs. I'm taking the last two Borak eyes with a red peg and putting them at the base of the feet, so very similar to 2016's Tahu, but now we're putting a color that matches his color scheme on the feet. And we have the blue, if you remember, up here on the torso because that better matches the chest plate. I'm also taking two of these beams with ball combo pieces. These come in basically all of the 2015 sets, so if you have Protector of Fire, you should have an extra one or two of these. But I'm taking two and putting two little pegs in each one, attaching them to the back of the legs. And finishing up the leg, we have two medium-sized pieces of trans orange armor, and I'm putting them with the little plate piece facing up. Sorry about some of the weird cuts in this one. I've gotten like 10 phone calls while recording this video, but here's a view of the back, and here we go. Tahu Superior. He's got the crazy lava board and posable shoulders and a good mix of both sets, and really good posability in all four limbs. Plus he's like almost 9 inches tall. So thanks for watching, and see you later.